the KX Country Clubhouse. I'm Kat with the new KX 94.7, and today I am joined by a very special guest, Miss Meghan Patrick. It has been a while. I don't know if you can see the T-shirt here, but I happen to
Yes,
rock my Meghan Patrick.
that's an MP original. That's
It's
an
an
MP
oldie.
original. Yeah.
It is. It is from your Grace and Grit album, the first of 3 albums now. And your third album, which of course we're celebrating and chatting about today, is Heart on My Glass. What can you tell me about the evolution of Meghan Patrick from Grace and Grit to today?
Well, I think, you know, I mean, I've grown and evolved. I mean, I'm the same person, but I've definitely grown and evolved over the years. And, when I put out Grace and Grit, I was in a place where I was really, really craving that very traditional country sound because I was also coming off of having a bluegrass band. So I was really connected with that aspect of my music inspiration at the time. And I think like as I created more and grew and started getting out and playing live shows and having a band, a lot of my roots with rock and southern rock really started seeping in, and that felt really good to me. And I started realizing when I was writing songs for this record, because I had so much time to write for this record compared to in the past because of the pandemic. Normally I'm coming off the road, I've got X amount of time to like write the songs, get in the studio and record them, and then back out. And so I was always, sometimes it was kind of stressful and I was on deadlines and I was overworked and overtired, and and trying to make sure that the label's happy with the songs I'm turning in, and that can mean sometimes you start chasing things as opposed to just writing what's really coming naturally to you. And I started realizing, with all this time, I started just going into sessions and being like, let's try something totally different and weird today. I also started, I also wrote with like some punk metal bands and stuff over the pandemic, like writing songs for them, and just kind of getting back into some of the other genres that I've loved over the years besides country. And I had realized that I had sort of inadvertently put myself in a box of what I could or couldn't do musically because it was what I thought everybody expected of me and what everybody wanted from me. And I realized that what people really want from me is just authenticity and honesty. And so I really wanted to start sort of paying my respects to some of my other influences. Like I said, I played in a bluegrass band. I used to play in a 10-piece funk band. My roots in rock and soul. I mean, singers like Aretha Franklin have been a huge influence on me. And so, I brought in that sort of blues and gospel feel with songs like Better Story. Belong in Boots has a little bit of a funky kind of groove to it. Liar 2 is more rock, pop, punk almost kind of vibe. And so, I wanted to really make sure that this album truly was all encompassing of all the pieces of me, even the ones I was nervous people might not like. And, but I also was like, came to the realization, like, it's like anything else in life. It's like when you date somebody, you can't make yourself be what you think they want, because eventually you're gonna have to be yourself. And so you might as well just do it and get it out of the way, and either they like you or they don't. And that's that's kind of how I feel about this record. you know I'm at that point where I'm like, you know what, if someone doesn't like it, that's fine, but I'm just not for them then. But the people that do like it are gonna become long lasting loyal fans because they're liking me for who I really am.
Absolutely. And I think authenticity is the perfect word to describe this album for you, for sure. You touched on some interesting points there. Of course, the Aretha Franklin influence we hear on Better Story. And I know you probably can't pick a favorite song because you poured so much heart and soul into every single one of them. But for me on this album, that is 100% my favorite song. Can you talk a little bit about Better Story, where that came from and how it came to be?
Absolutely. No, I mean it is one of my favorites as well. And it was like a little bit of a risk because it's pretty different from anything else I've ever put out before. Um, but yeah, I mean, I think it was one of those things where the person that I wrote this about, I mean, that was, it was a long time ago now. I mean, obviously I've been with Mitchell over 3 years, so it's been at least that long. But it was one of those things where I couldn't really write about it in the moment because I was still too angry and too hurt and too in the moment, But now, years later, having healed and found an amazing person and, moved on and everything, I was able to really remove myself and look at it more objectively. And like when I what triggered the idea, I was talking to a friend who was going through a similar situation, dated a guy who didn't treat her very well. She finally said she'd had enough, and of course, because he doesn't want everybody to know how bad he was to her, he's got to get the jump and say, well, she's crazy, don't listen to anything she says. And I said to her, I was like, well, I'm like, can you blame him? I'm like, if I were him, knowing all the things I did to you and that I messed it up with you, I would want a better story too. And so that when I brought that idea in, it was one of those songs that I was just so ready to write it. It just like spilled out of me, just all of the lyrics. I mean, just like this, like I couldn't, it was like I couldn't get it on paper fast enough. And I think so far, the record only came out last Friday, and already like just seeing the streams on it, getting the messages from people, the comments, like I played it live at two full band, full concerts this past weekend, and the immediate audience response was crazy. So I'm really glad that I was able to take my pain and turn it into something relatable for my listeners. Like, thanks Toxic X for the song.
Exactly. Well, I think one song on the album that is incredibly relatable for a lot of us is Mama Prayed For. Now, obviously you mentioned Mitchell in there. You guys have been together 3 years, and this one is all about how, you might not be what his mama prayed for, but the thing that you guys do have in common is that you love him so very much. So I'm curious to know, were you there the first time Mitchell's mom heard the song?
I think the first time she heard it, I think she came to like a writer's round or something, and I played it like I had just written it. And I prefaced it by saying, I was like, I just want everybody to know that Debbie and I get along great. But, part of it was bringing in other experiences, past relationships, all of that. But, certainly before I ever met Mitchell's mom, I was really nervous. Mitchell was raised very like traditional Southern Christian. I already knew that his mom did not like tattoos because she was upset about the couple that he had, and I'm kind of like covered in them. And so I just didn't know what she was gonna think about me, and all the things that make me me. And she was really sweet from the beginning. We never didn't get along, but once we really started to get to know each other and spend time together, even without Mitchell being there, she said to me one time, she said, for me, all that really matters is that he's happy and that he's loved well. And she said, I can just tell, she said, I love the way that he is when he's around you. He's happy and he's himself and he's relaxed. And she said, that's all that matters to me. And so that was kind of what inspired the bridge. If loving you is all we have in common, I bet in the end that's all she really wanted. So
I love that. Well, that's beautiful. And I'm so happy that you guys have found each other and made this life for yourselves down in the States. Now, one song off of this album, My First Car, was really your first introduction to your US audience. So how has that been going, and how are they welcoming our Canadians south of the border?
As far as the single goes, it was tough because we had to kind of make the decision if we were going to pull the trigger or not to go to radio, which was tough because I haven't done like a proper radio tour here because I haven't been able to. It was supposed to happen last year. The response to it was really good. Because I wasn't able, like we were under the impression we'd be able to get out at the very beginning of this year and do a radio tour, and it didn't happen that way. And so I just wasn't able to get that extra push to really let it take off. But I still think, it was a good introduction. It's a great song to play live, and it's still gaining traction now with the whole record out. It's getting new ears on it as well. But I also think, everything happens for a reason, and whatever we decide to try and take to radio next here in the US, maybe it's going to be something where I have a little more to say than talking about a truck, which is, we all love truck songs. I'll keep writing them, but, so far, I played 2 shows this weekend, like full on festival, huge crowd, in Kansas and Nebraska. And I mean, the response was huge. I mean, I noticed even on my social media getting a ton of new followers and people messaging me. And actually, you know, you had mentioned Better Story. When we played that live, I mean, it was such a moment because they cheered so loud, like it caught me off guard, and it kind of made me tear up a little bit because it had been such a long time since I had heard a crowd like that or had a crowd respond to me like that, and especially in America where I mean, they didn't know who I was when I walked on that stage. But to have that immediate reaction was just so rewarding and so validating, you know, to say, okay, maybe they're going to like me. Maybe I can really do this, you know?
Oh, well, I'm so glad. And I'm so glad you actually got the opportunity to get back out on stage, because I know last time we spoke, that was a big part, obviously missing from your life the last little while. So glad that you are down in the States and able to do so. We can't wait to have you back up here in KX
Me too.
Country. And
Me-
when we talk about radio tours, do you remember your very first radio tour visit to KX 94.7? Toph and I hanging out after hours, getting to know
Yep.
you and all your glory. And that was, you know, just a few years ago. And it's hard to believe how far you've come since then. So congratulations,
Thank
continued
you.
success. We are so incredibly happy for you and proud of the way you are representing us down in the States. We just absolutely are so thrilled for you. So
Well,
thank
thank
you,
you.
continued success, and come visit us again soon. Okay.
As soon as I can, I will. Thank you so much.
No worries, no worries. And I'll keep rocking my shirt for you too.
Love it. We're gonna have some new ones soon. I'll get you an updated one as well.
Perfect. Maybe that one will fit. This one has not been kind on my COVID size.
Hey, we've all been there.
Awesome. Have a good one, Megan. Thank
All
you
right,
so much.
take care. Bye.
Bye.